And breaking tonight, brand new questions about the investigation into Hunter Biden's taxes. Fox News has now obtained a letter from attorneys for an IRS whistleblower accusing the government of retaliation by removing the whistleblower and his entire team from the Hunter Biden probe. The chief correspondent, Jonathan Hunt, is live with the breaking information on this. Jonathan, good evening.
Good evening to you, Trace. Much of the backstory on this is still unclear, precisely because this is a whistleblower case. But what we know is this. The IRS whistleblower's lawyers have written to members of Congress saying that the whistleblower and his entire team have been, quote, removed from the ongoing and sensitive investigation of the high-profile, controversial subject about which our client sought to make whistleblower disclosures to Congress. The whistleblower previously alleged political interference in the investigation of that high-profile, controversial subject, who, Fox has been told, is Hunter Biden. As for the whistleblower's removal from the investigation, his legal team says its client, quote, was informed the change was at the request of the Department of Justice. The move was condemned as retaliatory action by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who said via Twitter that Republicans on the House Ways and Means Committee, quote, will expose any possible cover-up at the IRS, and Republicans will protect the whistleblowers who shine a light on government misconduct. Congressman Richard Neal, the top Democrat on the Ways and Means Committee, said in a statement, Ways and Means Democrats will take whistleblowers and their protections seriously. More detail is needed here, and we call on IRS Commissioner Werfel to provide the necessary context before making any further judgment. Now, Hunter Biden, of course, remains under investigation for alleged tax crimes. He has denied any wrongdoing. President Biden has repeatedly said he believes his son has done nothing wrong and that he is, quote, proud of him.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
How happy are you that we're going to jail?
I'd say happier than a camel on Wednesday.
Hump day?
Today is Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. IRS whistleblower letter accuses DOJ of retaliation in Hunter Biden probe. Corporate media and the White House are in retreat over Russiagate. And Senator Ron Johnson, super based, joins the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. You want to make sure that you are always connected and getting our show live. You want to make sure that your cell phone connection is real and accurate and is totally based. And that is why I use PatriotMobile.com. I talk about them almost every single show. Patriot Mobile is the brand that I use to make sure that I am supporting non-woke cell phone companies. It has excellent service and it keeps me connected. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and it offers dependable nationwide coverage on all three major networks. So you get the best possible coverage in your area without propaganda by leftists. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you support free speech and religious freedom, sanctity of life, and you support fairness inside of a system that is wrought with evil and corruption. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, patriotmobile.com/Benny. Get free activation today with the offer code Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you about someone named Douglas Mackey. Douglas Mackey is a guy who shared a meme, okay? He's a guy who shared a meme, and it was a funny meme. It was a meme about texting in your vote for Hillary Clinton. What's interesting about the meme is that it's the same type of thing that leftists shared about Donald Trump. Essentially, it was to trick, or not even really to trick, it was like a joke about texting in your vote. Now, he did this in favor of Hillary Clinton. There are a lot of people who did it in favor to troll Donald Trump. And why am I talking to you about this? Well, because Douglas Mackey went to prison and is in jail right now. He was convicted of trying to rig and influence an election in 2016. Douglas Mackey will spend, presumably, a lot of time in jail for making a meme that federal prosecutors said attempted to rig an election. They couldn't prove a single vote was taken away from Hillary Clinton's column in 2016 because of Douglas Mackey's meme. But just the meme itself, its sheer existence, meant that Douglas Mackey needed to go to jail. Watch.
During the 2016 presidential campaign, Mackey posted memes that made fun of Hillary Clinton and her supporters. One of them on Twitter read this way, quote, "Avoid the line, vote from home, text Hillary to 59925. That was obviously a joke, and everyone knew it was a joke. But the FBI, which probably has nothing else to do, tracked down several people who texted that number in Mackey's meme. None of them remembered even doing it. And that's according to discovery in the case. So there's no victim here. No one was fooled by what Mackey did. And yet, days after Biden took office, 4 years after Mackey posted that meme, the feds arrested him, and they charged him with conspiring to interfere with the rights of American citizens. He'd go to jail for 10 years for that. That means if you crack a joke on the internet that Democrats don't like, federal prosecutors get to decide you're interfering with an election. It's hard to imagine a more Soviet prosecution than this.
So Douglas Mackey goes to prison. He was convicted. Douglas Mackey will be in jail for 10 years. ALX? Yeah, probably. We have examples of liberals doing this. We can put them up on screen. I think it'd probably be important. ALX just found us a example of a liberal doing the exact same thing. Yet this quote-unquote comedian who has this tweet inexplicably still up saying to text your vote in for Trump, the exact opposite version of the meme that Douglas Mackey shared, well, she's free to go about her life. She's at Whole Foods right now buying organic almond milk lattes. Douglas Mackey is in prison. And what does that show you, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it shows you the same thing that we talked about yesterday inside of the Durham Report, that there is no such thing as justice inside of our country, that there is, in fact, a profound and banal evil that exists inside of the repulsive underbelly of our federal justice system. There is no federal justice system. That in and of itself is a lie. That commentary and that nomenclature is untrue. There is an establishment prosecution system that prosecutes in favor of power and will turn over any stone and will break any rule in order to prevent those who they do not want seeking power from attaining power. And if they get power, God forbid, they will break every single system inside of our country in order to keep those people from executing and wielding power. Check this out from the Federalist this morning. Don't miss the most damning Durham finding. Here it is with a photo of Comey and Barack Obama. We're going to get into the Durham Report. I'm going to read you from the Durham Report all the passages that we thought were pretty relevant here. We're going to read to you directly from the report on the show and show you sort of what it says, because what it shows is the largest political scandal in American history. This side of Watergate, and a lot of people with a lot of different opinions on Watergate, but at least people suffered for Watergate. People went to prison. People went to jail. A president resigned over Watergate under the threat of impeachment by his own party. That's how damning it was the last time that a president, according to the official narrative, used weaponized federal agents in order to attempt to meddle with his political enemies. The Federalist goes in here, Margot Cleveland writing, a wonderful piece here. Special Counsel John Durham declared the DOJ and the FBI's hearts and minds are corrupted. Now, what she means here, what Margot's writing about here, and we love Margot Cleveland's writing at the Federalist, is she's talking about the real finding inside of John Durham's reporting. And the real finding is not that they broke the rules, but that they wanted to break the rules because they no longer have a fealty to the Constitution. Durham's 306-page report opened with an exclusive summary capsulating the results of the special counsel's 4-year investigation into the intelligence activities investigations arising from the 2016 presidential campaign. While calling the findings sobering and previewing widespread misconduct on which the body of the report elaborated, Durham's introductory comments emphasized that he does not recommend any wholesale changes in guidelines and policies. It is here that Durham made his damning indictment of the DOJ and the FBI when he stressed that the answer is not the creation of new rules, but to renewed fidelity to the old rules. Ultimately, he continued, justice comes down from the integrity of the people who take the oath and follow its guidelines. That is the most damning sentence in the entire report. He's talking about the corrupt souls of Peter Strzok, James Comey, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton. As we detailed yesterday, the FBI has regularly and often been a corrupt political weapon because it is a police force that is answerable to the president alone. And the president is a political office, so it is a political police force. It is our own Gestapo. And you've seen it utilized like that, of course, in the post-Trump era against Donald Trump. And you can now see, of course, the restraint that Donald Trump had in not sicking the FBI on Hillary Clinton when she so rightly and damnably deserved it. But this is the ultimate finding inside of the Durham Report, which the rest of the 300 pages, and we have gone through essentially line by line in this report, detail that Hillary Clinton created a fraud, a lie, in order to distract from her actual crimes. She then merchandised that lie to the FBI, which bought it hook, line, and sinker and opened up these investigations into Donald Trump without asking any questions or without even trying to hunt down whether these lies are real, whether this evidence was real. They didn't even try. And then that became the predicate for opening up the Mueller investigation, which dodged and dogged Donald Trump for 3 years of his presidency and really kneecapped him and you because you supported Donald Trump, and so they stole it from you. You want to talk about a stolen election? Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen, 2016. There you go. I mean, what it is it's really a theft of the ability for Donald Trump to govern, and if you talk to anyone who worked for Donald Trump, that's it. Now, the parasites, the cockroaches, these people, Trump called them cockroaches yesterday on Truth Social, these people who orchestrated all of this, it was all predicated and based on a lie, they haven't changed. And that's what John Durham's talking about here in his report. It's a spiritual report more than anything. Let's continue. He said, the promulgation of additional rules and regulations to be learned in yet more training sessions would likely prove fruitless exercise of the FBI's guiding principles of fidelity, bravery, and integrity, are not ingrained in the hearts and minds of those who sworn to meet the FBI's mission of protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution of the United States. He nails it there. John Durham nails it. John Durham is going to be testifying before Congress. We just learned breaking news next week. So expect us to cover that. There's a lot of people who are upset right now at John Durham, and I count myself as one of them because he doesn't necessitate charges against people who belong in jail. Douglas Mackey went to jail for tweeting a meme. Yet the people who actually meddled in and or attempted to rig the election, and when they couldn't get away with it, when Donald Trump became president in spite of them, well, then they continued the sham and the charade. And the reason why Barack Obama is sitting there smiling next to Comey is because Barack Obama was briefed by John Brennan that Hillary Clinton had this dirty plan to stir up. These are according to John Brennan's own notes. The only time I'll take Brennan at his word. John Brennan's own handwritten notes, declassified, saying that he briefed Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plans to stir up a fake Russia connection between Trump and apparent allies inside of the Kremlin. Durham opened and closed his 300-plus page report on the Russia collusion hoax with an homage to Attorney General Edward H. Levi. He was appointed in order to clean up the mess after Watergate. And what did this man end up doing? This man fired every agent involved, every person involved inside of the FBI, gutted it, ended the FBI's various streams of federal funding. For all the misconduct exposed, Durham left us with a warning that without a change inside of the creature of the FBI and the soul of the FBI, we'd get this again. Durham's words are unlikely to resonate with Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Christopher Wray, for they stand idly by while history repeats itself with favoritism previously shown to Hillary Clinton now bestowed upon Hunter Biden and the Biden family. There is no special counsel currently appointed to look into the Biden family corruption. They are hiding documents, and now they are firing the investigators, ladies and gentlemen, that are working to look into Hunter Biden in retaliation for the whistleblowers coming forward and talking about Hunter Biden's crimes. Check this out. From Fox News. IRS whistleblower letter accuses DOJ of retaliation in Hunter Biden probe. Ladies and gentlemen, attorneys for the IRS whistleblower say that the whistleblower's entire team has been removed from the Hunter Biden probe and have accused the government of illegal retaliation according to a letter sent to the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. The whistleblower's attorneys told Congress that the removal was on the order of the Justice Department run by Joe Biden's apparatchiks, the same people who prevented the prosecution of Hillary Clinton and who have just had their asses paddled and taken out to the woodshed by John Durham without prosecution. Today, the Internal Revenue Service criminal supervisory agent we represent was informed that he and his entire investigative team are being removed from the ongoing and sensitive investigation into the high-profile, controversial subject with which our client sought to make whistleblower disclosures. He was informed that the change was at the request of the Department of Justice. Whistleblower protections are enshrined in federal statute. The protocol is for a whistleblower to go first to their immediate supervisor or supervisor in charge and issue at hand. And then for the whistleblower believes that he is reaching out to a supervisor could jeopardize their well-being, the supervisor is instructed to then go to the congressional agencies or inspector general. And that is exactly what this whistleblower did. Ladies and gentlemen, the Biden regime is attempting to get away with communism. They're attempting to get away with an oligarchy that is utterly and totally unrestrained by the democratic processes. Do Republicans have the guts, the balls in their shorts, and the iron in their spine to actually finally put their foot down? We'll see. We'll see. That's why we do this show every single day. It's why I'm driven to do this show every single day. It's time for us to push, ladies and gentlemen. Watch.
Thank you, John. And now to this Fox News alert. Fox News has just obtained a letter from lawyers representing the IRS whistleblower that accuses the Justice Department of retaliation in the Hunter Biden probe. The letter is in response to the whistleblower's claim that their team has been removed from the investigation into the president's son in retaliation over him speaking out. John, as many people do know, this has already been reported as first in the New York Post yesterday. We have now obtained that letter, so we are independently confirming that here now.
So the letter, we can put it up here on your screen. This is illegal by law. You cannot retaliate against a whistleblower who is trying to expose criminality and or favoritism inside of the government. This is exactly what John Durham is warned about. This is why I started the show off with this reporting, because there is actually a problem with the soul of these institutions. It is a spiritual problem. We talk about spirituality on the show often. It'll bring you cold comfort, but let me appeal to you that this is the same battle that we have been having since the dawn of man. There has always been a battle to become Babylon. There's always been a battle to become gods on this earth and be unaccountable to no one, to eat of the fruit, of the knowledge, of the tree, of good and evil, so that you can embody evil and good in one, and you can choose. And that is precisely what our Department of Justice and what Hunter Biden, his team, the criminals, the mafia that runs our government right now are attempting to do. Greg Jarrett on Fox says this is illegal. Watch.
He notified the Inspector General. He notified Congress of corrupt acts involving favoritism and political interference in the Hunter Biden case. In fact, that Biden appointees blocked prosecution of Hunter. So now the whistleblower and his entire team have been kicked off the case, and it reeks, Sean, of retaliation. That's forbidden by law. John's right. That's not all. It has the stench of obstruction of a congressional investigation. That's also illegal. It's a felony. But, is anybody surprised by this? This is a pattern of conduct, cover up of Biden corruption. Use all means to punish people who come forward with legitimate evidence. The law be damned. It's meant to frighten and intimidate. And there's ample evidence the president's son pocketed millions and didn't pay taxes on it. That's tax evasion. That's tax fraud. Anybody else would have been prosecuted long ago, but as Joe Biden famously boasted, no one F's with a Biden.
Yeah. Why can he say things like that? Well, because the Bidens are protected by the strongest and most powerful forces in this country, the federal bureaucracy. And that federal bureaucracy is the same bureaucracy, as we have detailed many times, that gave Hunter Biden Secret Service protection in 2018. It's hard to really explain. You see firearms in our shot. We are very, very proud of the amount of firearms that we have. We're proud owners of firearms in the free state of Florida. We call it the gun-shine state. The reason why, of course, we want protection for our family, want protection for our rights, we want protection from the government. The reason why the government obviously doesn't want you to have firearms is that they want to be able to create tyranny for you and your life and not get shot while doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue at hand here is that most people who are critical of the Second Amendment or gun laws have never purchased a firearm in their lives. You purchase a firearm, you have to go through a waiting period, you have to go through an extensive background check, you have to not lie on those background checks. If you dare lie on those background checks, you're going to have 15 years in prison. It's called a federal NICS form. It is very, very, very difficult to get a firearm, even inside of a state like Florida. There are mandatory waiting periods. There's a ton of and the FBI is inserted itself into every single element of this. I love buying guns. But every single time I buy one, I have to go and appeal to the federal government in order to buy one. Now, you could argue that every single gun law is unconstitutional. I certainly would. But them's the breaks, okay? I do my best to support people that want to disallow from those rules, but here we are. What I'm saying here, and the reason for the story, is that I know what it's like to purchase guns. Lots of guns. I know what it's like. I go through the process on like a weekly basis. The process is literally in my shot for my show. Hunter Biden lied on his federal NICS form. Hunter Biden said he wasn't addicted to crack. One of the lines inside of the federal form that gets sent to our federal government for review, and if you dare lie on it, you'll get put in prison. I think there's a... Hey, Alex, let's pull the clip there, because the ATF director was asked about this, about Hunter Biden. He said he wasn't addicted to crack. Hunter Biden said he was not addicted to crack on that form. I have to, every time I purchase a firearm, say, am I addicted to drugs? And there is a long list of various drugs, various types of drugs, various types of narcotics and addictions that I myself may be addicted to. And I better damn well tick that box correctly. And if I say, yes, I am addicted to those drugs, then the federal government has the right to say, no, you cannot have a firearm. Hunter Biden lied on that form, and Hunter Biden lied to the federal government and was handed a firearm whilst he was on crack. Hunter Biden then discarded that firearm into a dumpster next to a high school after a bad exchange with his brother's widow that he was banging at the time. And what happened next? The Secret Service went and shook down the gun store owner for all the paperwork that would tie Hunter Biden to that firearm. This was in 2018. This was when Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Where the hell was the investigation of this? Wasn't the Secret Service working for Donald Trump at the time? Isn't Donald Trump in charge of the Secret Service? What the hell is going on here? We know this because of corporate media reporting. This is not some type of InfoWars stuff. This is Politico reporting this out. Mark my words. If I so much as had a misspelling or a comma in the wrong place when I purchased a firearm, my ass would be in prison. But Hunter Biden has not only the ability to lie on the federal NICS form whilst on crack, he also has the ability to have the Secret Service come in and clean it all up for him. And then when asked about it, the ATF has nothing to say. The only gun criminal that the ATF has nothing to say anything about. The reason I'm going into this is, one, we've done the research and looked into it. Two, I'm a firearm owner and I don't want irresponsible gun ownership. I actually want these people to go to prison. People who lie, people who get guns illegally, I don't want them on the streets. They give all good legal gun owners a bad name. And two, it exposes precisely what we're talking about here. The greater findings of John Durham, which is that the soul is corrupt inside of our federal government. If you need further evidence, please watch this clip.
Wilcox, if a person lies on Form 4473 and is a user of unlawful drugs, you can get between 5 to 10 years for that. Is that correct? Is that my understanding?
No, I believe Congress changed the sentence last Congress.
What is that sentence now?
Up to 15.
Up to 15 years. Why hasn't Hunter Biden been prosecuted for the crime that he committed?
I'm not aware of the facts of that case and can't comment on it.
Okay, who do we talk to see why this case is not being prosecuted? I mean, he said very clearly in his book that he used drugs, he had at least a gun.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
State your point of order.
totally irrelevant and not germane to this proceeding.
Sir, he's got his 5 minutes. Go ahead, continue.
Okay, so I understand why you do not want Mr. Wilcox to answer that question. It's very clear why you don't want, because there's a dual system of justice in America. That's what's going on right now, and everybody's talking about it across America. There's two standards.
There's a dual system of justice in America. Now, we could talk about Hunter Biden and crack all day long. I don't need to talk to you about it, however. I can simply show you what Hunter Biden was doing when he purchased his firearm, because I have a video from approximately that date, according to his laptop. So when Hunter Biden ticked his federal NICS form, have you purchased a gun? Hop into the comment section. Tell me, have you ever purchased a firearm? Because you had to answer whether you were on drugs. Let me show you what Hunter Biden was doing when he said, no, I am not addicted to crack cocaine.
2.07 without the bag.
So how long is
2.0.
Filthy animal. This animal. This filthy, dirty man talking with a hooker, talking with some woman who's been sex trafficked. Prove me wrong. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going in and doing a full-on investigation into the sex trafficking of the Bidens. And boy, oh boy, how are we ever going to have her on the show to talk about it? She was on last week or 2 weeks ago before we did our short break. Ladies and gentlemen, Hunter Biden had huge crack rocks, the likes of which any mobster would be jealous of during the crack epidemic, when Joe Biden was putting hundreds of thousands of young black men in prison for like having a scintilla of the amount of crack that Hunter Biden had. Our federal government was handing him a firearm after he lied on his federal forms, punishable by 15 years in prison. Here's the federal form. There it is. Biden, Robert, Hunter. There's his address. There's him saying, right there, boom, shakalaka. It's near the bottom. I filled out so many of these. Are you unlawful user or addicted to marijuana, so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. Section E, right there. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm reading it off the screen. I'll read it off the computer. Are you an unlawful user addicted to marijuana, depressant, stimulant, narcotic, drug, any other controlled substance? Warning, the use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized. So even if you are a user of weed, you cannot tick that box. Okay? There it is. Boom. Hunter Biden. There you are, lying on your federal NICS form, and more importantly, the effing Secret Service swooped in to try and clean up this mess. They've never been asked about it. Boy, we're going to ask. So you're telling me that they're not going to try everything that they can. They're trying to bring gun charges against Hunter Biden. This is the simplest case out there. The gun crime, the gun charge. We can present to you the actual evidence on your screen. They're trying to bring those charges against Hunter Biden, and they just fired the entire team in charge of that investigation. They fired it the day that the Durham Report drops. The hubris, the sheer effing hubris of these people. This is witness intimidation. These are grounds for impeachment. Watch.
The Biden family is threatening the whistleblower.
In communication with our witnesses and with people who are cooperating from a subpoena standpoint, we know that they've been contacted by the attorneys for Hunter Biden. We feel that this is really close to crossing the line. Obviously, their objective, in my opinion, is witness intimidation. This will not stand.
So, witness intimidation is what's going on. We did an entire show on whistleblowers disappearing. Poof. Out of the blue. Out of the air. Thin air. They can't find the whistleblowers anymore. Where the hell did they all go? What's happening to them? Ladies and gentlemen, the attorney for the whistleblower inside of the IRS is saying that his client is now having the entire weight of the federal government and the crime syndicate that is our federal government pressured down upon him. This is what it takes to stand up against a machine. Watch.
If he stayed quiet and said nothing. So he's coming forward, but he knows that he's going to be attacked. And, you know, really, attacks like this are kind of what he was worried about. But he wants to come forward, tell the truth. He's instructed us to reach out to both Democrats and Republicans on the Hill and let those statements that if they want to hear him and have him come in to the Hill and talk to him, let those statements rest where they are.
I mean, you see that as fairly threatening, that letter.
You know, I don't think it helps, I don't think it helps whistleblowers as a whole. I mean, there is a strong contingent on the Hill that believes in the whistleblower programs to shine a light on government agencies and programs and to enable people to come forward without getting threatened.
Now, the IRS itself has said that there will be absolutely no retaliation for anyone that is coming forward and blowing the whistle. The person who is in charge of the IRS, the person who is making these decisions now, has just outright lied to Congress because now they've ripped the investigative team off of the Hunter Biden case after the whistleblower came forward. If you wish to have any evidence of that lie, don't worry, we have it on tape.
We discussed previously, we set up an online whistleblower portal for IRS personnel wishing to share information with the committee. I continue to urge you to let your employees know about the portal. I believe it will encourage agency personnel who witness wrongdoing to come forward. And just this last week, we received outreach from an IRS whistleblower requesting the committee look into concerns the individual has about allegations of misconduct. So can you commit that there will be no retaliation against that whistleblower?
Mr. Chairman, while I can't comment on a specific case, I can say without any hesitation there will be no retaliation for anyone making an allegation or a call to a whistleblower hotline.
So we'll have no retaliation. That's what they say. No retaliation. Merrick Garland said the same thing. Christopher Reyes said the same thing. No retaliation. Nothing will ever happen. Everything will be fine. Well, now we know, based on the actual whistleblower, that there has been retaliation. They've ripped him off of the Hunter Biden case. Where the hell is the impeachment? Congress, did your balls fall off? Where are the impeachments? Where are the actions? This is what we're going to get into in the next block with John Durham and his report. Because it's just like crime after crime after crime after crime, and then no action. No action. Where are the action items? Where are the heads on pikes around the FBI and the DOJ to serve as a warning to people who do this? Because right now, the only warning that is being sent out from our federal government is that if you blow the whistle on us, you'll be disappeared. There is a shocking trend of whistleblowers actually disappearing right now in Washington, D.C., illuminated for us by James Comer, who's been working with these whistleblowers. There have been dozens of them have come forward, and now they've gone missing. This is a little strange. Where are they going? Who is intimidating them? What is happening? I mean, this seems like a pretty important thing that we should be concerned about. James Comer certainly is. Watch.
You have spoken with whistleblowers. You also spoke with an informant who gave you all of this information. Where is that informant today? Where are these whistleblowers?
Well, unfortunately, we can't track down the informant. We're hopeful that the informant is still there. The whistleblower knows the informant. The whistleblower is very credible. And all we're asking the FBI with respect to the Form 1023 is, what did you do to investigate this allegation?
Hold on a second, Congressman. Did you just say that the whistleblower or the informant is now missing?
Well, we're hopeful that we can find the informant. Now, remember, these informants are kind of in the spy business, so they don't make a habit of being seen a lot or being high profile or anything like that. We have basic information with respect to what the informant has alleged, and it's very serious. It alleges that Joe Biden, when he was vice president, was involved in a quid pro quo with a foreign country in exchange for foreign aid.
So the whistleblowers are just disappearing now. So we're just going to accept this as normal, or we're now suddenly living inside of the Stasi, East German communist state? We're just living inside of the USSR now. We're just going to expect that people who come out against their federal government are going to suddenly disappear. They're just going to get Epsteined. This is just going to be the standard operating procedure. We're seeing it, of course, across the world. Israeli professor who wanted to blow the whistle on Joe Biden and his illegal activities abroad has suddenly gone missing. This guy's name is Gail Luft. Here, we're reading to you from the Times of Israel. Again, not InfoWars. Ain't nothing wrong with ain't nothing wrong with Alex Jones. I would love to have him on the show. But not InfoWars, okay? We're reading from the Times of Israel. An Israeli professor wanted by the U.S. authorities has gone missing in Cyprus, where he was arrested pending extradition. Cyprus media reports. What? Huh? Wait, what? Gail Luft was arrested on an Interpol-issued warrant of suspicions of weapons trafficking. In February, he tweeted, "I've been arrested in Cyprus on politically motivated extradition requests to the U.S. The U.S. is claiming I'm an arms dealer. It would be funny if it weren't tragic. I've never been an arms dealer." He goes on to say, and if you scroll through the article, you can actually read the tweet for yourself, the Department of Justice is trying to bury me to protect Joe Biden and Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. Should I name names? Local police confirmed that Luft went missing on March 28th and that his car was found abandoned. My God. They Epsteined the guy. What's interesting is that our federal government's been doing this for a long time. We started the program with going through the suicide letters that the FBI sent to Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, this is in people's lifetimes, right? My parents were alive when the FBI was doing this stuff. And they're still doing it today. They're just doing it to protect a very different column of power. Back then they were fighting the Marxists, the feminists, and the organized radicals inside of the society. Today they're the Marxists, the feminists, and the organized radicals inside of society. They're using the same leverage, they're using the same power, and they're using the same tactics. They Epsteined this guy. They Epsteined this Gail Luft. He's just gone. See ya. Tweet one time about the Bidens, and you'll disappear. And what about James Comer saying that, hey, they're exposing this pay-for-play, this money laundering and influence laundering operation inside of the federal government that they said that Donald Trump was running, which was just a projection, that Donald Trump, we have to impeach Donald Trump and we have to prosecute Donald Trump for the crimes of Joe Biden. Well, check this out. Chinese donors close to Hunter Biden gave $105 million to the University of Pennsylvania where classified documents were found. Oh my. Somebody's really got to check the janitor's badges at the University of Pennsylvania and see if there's any special Chinese names on them that are tied to the CCP. Just go clean out Joe Biden. Just go clean out the drawer, lower left drawer on the right on my desk, and you'll find what you're looking for. The prestigious U.S. college, home to the Biden-backed think tank. Could you imagine going to a think tank run by Hunter Biden, Joe Biden? Can you imagine? What are those lectures like exactly? What kind of lectures was Joe Biden giving at this think tank? The paragon of wisdom and IQ, high IQ in our time. The Chinese agents that were close to Hunter Biden gave more than $100 million to this think tank. Oh, interesting. Why is that? The revelations, first reported by Fox News, will raise suspicion of the presidential family's cozy ties with foreign governments. Disgraced first son Hunter Biden, 53, has been under the microscope for years now and alleged influence peddling thanks to his political connections. They came to light after a series of emails from the laptop were leaked to the media. The eye-watering sum of $105 million, nearly double what had been reported in the past, was picked up from businessmen close to the Chinese Communist Party in just 3 short years, the 3 short years that Joe Biden was in charge of the University of Pennsylvania Biden Center, where Joe Biden kept all of his classified documents. Caitlin Sutherland, the executive director who uncovered the figures, said that she casts further doubts on the Biden family's business dealings. Unfortunately, they don't break out where the money flowed from once UPenn received the contributions. So did all that money flow directly into the pockets of Joe Biden? Was this a money laundering mechanism for the Bidens? Yes, it was. Did Joe Biden think his political career was over because he was a decrepit, old, cretinous crypt keeper, even inside of the Obama administration? Yes, he was. Did Joe Biden think that he would ever get caught because he thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win 2 terms? We'd be living through the second term of Hillary Clinton right now, and nobody would ever persecute or investigate him? Yes, he did. They thought they could just get away with murder. And they did, in some cases. Ladies and gentlemen, we're finding out right now that the China Merchant Bank donated over $5.5 million to University of Penn. What were the Chinese getting out of this? Quid pro quo. Quid ro Row. What exactly is the benefit here? Cui bono. I don't know Latin, but I know some terms. Cui bono. Who benefits? What does a Chinese get? What does a Chinese businessman get donating to the University of Pennsylvania? Nobody wants to live in Philadelphia. Nobody wants to hang out around the University of Pennsylvania. What are they getting out of this? And why just to UPenn? Why, if this was some great investment for China, you'd assume it'd be to all these other organizations and all these other universities, but that is not the case. They donate an absolute ass ton to the very space where Joe Biden is keeping his classified documents. Well, those are questions. Those are questions, ladies and gentlemen. Very big questions. Big questions that we can face when we actually do a reading of the Durham Report, which we will in just one moment. But ladies and gentlemen, if the amount of money that is being thrown around by the Communist Chinese Party, if they're throwing around dollars like their monopoly money, if that stresses you out, it certainly does me. Maybe it's because it is monopoly money. Maybe it's because fiat currencies are a bad way to go. Maybe it's the reason why the BRICS nations are trying to formalize a new currency based on gold. And perhaps now is time to think about the diversification and investing yourself into precious metals. On the heels of the second largest bank failure in U.S. history and the 8th largest interest rate hike, the 12-month period, 186 banks are now at risk of collapsing. Your bank could be next. And Joe Biden just wants to bail out Ukraine once more with more billions printed hot off the presses with absolutely nothing to back it. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, to back up your savings with actual, real, physical gold and silver. You should do that with my friends at Allegiance Gold. You can get $5,000 in free silver on a qualifying purchase when you visit protectwithbenny.com today, or give them a call at 844-790-9191. Don't let the Fed play Monopoly with your money. Protect your future with Allegiance Gold. Protectwithbenny.com. Okay, the 5 major takeaways from the Durham investigation. You should not miss it, and you should read directly from that investigation. This, according to the Washington Examiner, the 5 major takeaways from the bombshell findings into Trump-Russia investigation. And oh, by the way, we will let you know that we are in contact with Senator Ron Johnson's team. Senator Ron Johnson is the foremost bulldog investigator in the Senate into the crimes of the Biden family. And so he will be joining us very, very soon. You do not want to miss it. Special Counsel John Durham's long-awaited report dropped on Monday. The 306-page report, which Durham describes as sobering, cast doubt on the idea that the FBI should have ever begun its Crossfire Hurricane investigation, concluded that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's campaign plays an outside role in pushing such collusion claims to the media and the FBI, among numerous other bombshell revelations. Here are the major bombshell revelations from inside of this report. There was no proper basis for the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. The special counsel concluded that the matter was opened as to the full investigation without ever having spoken to the persons who provided the information. The FBI launched its Trump-Russia investigation without any significant review of its own intelligence databases and without the connection and examination of any relevant influence from other U.S. intelligence agencies and entities. The investigation was started without any conducting interviews of witnesses essential to understanding the raw information the FBI had received, as well as without using any of these standards analytical tools specifically employed by the FBI evaluating raw intelligence. This is reading to you directly from the report. This is something that we did not do yesterday, and I regret it. Because it is worth reading the report. There's a reason why this took 4 years. And this is why we're very excited for John Durham to actually be testifying next week. So what this means is that inside of a universe where Hillary Clinton was under dual investigations into the Clinton Foundation and into her campaign, the use of an illegal email server, but her emails, sharing of classified information on a private server which is totally illegal and which was accessed by America's enemies. The FBI had opened those investigations, and those were well known to the American people. The FBI continued to reopen those investigations and fester the wound, including, famously, a week before the election, when Anthony Weiner's laptop was found, the original Hunter Biden laptop. And so what happened in order to distract from these dual investigations, which are properly predicated by the FBI, which were being slow-walked by the FBI, according to Durham's report, the FBI said, slow-walk these things. They opened preliminary investigations into Hillary Clinton, even given the preponderance and demonstrable evidence of wrongdoing. Is that as soon as Hillary Clinton manufactured a claim that was based on hearsay, according to Durham's report, about Donald Trump getting peed on in a bed at the Ritz-Carlton, you know where that comes from? That comes from an American businessman who worked for the DNC named Charles Dolan. Guy worked for the DNC. He was at a conference in Moscow. He stayed at the Ritz-Carlton where that allegedly happened, and he either made it up, fabricated it after 7 martinis at the bar, Russian vodka, very strong, or he allegedly heard it from some staff member that was just making a joke. That's where that comes from. The FBI got that information, packaged nicely by Christopher Steele and by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and they opened immediately an investigation into Donald Trump. Immediately. They didn't look through. I mean, this is just gobstopping. Because if they can do it to Trump, they'll do it to you, they'll do it to your family, they'll do it to absolutely anyone. This is just gobstopping. They didn't ask the intelligence assets paid for by you, the American taxpayer, like, is this relevant? Is this real? They didn't go and ask the Russia experts. In fact, the Russia experts said they've never heard anything about Donald Trump being on the dole of the Russians. Never once. Do they have any evidence? They had zero evidence. Zero. The evidence for this, zero. The FBI just opened it up. Peter Strzok and Andrew McCabe just ripped it wide open and launched a full-on investigation just given the hearsay. Hillary Clinton's connections. Durham's report reached a number of conclusions about Hillary Clinton and her 2016 campaign. The special counsel detailed how differently the FBI handled similar Clinton-related controversies that could have affected the election, but were treated with caution by the FBI. The speed, quoting directly from John Durham, the speed and manner in which the FBI opened the investigative crossfire hurricane, the Trump investigation, during the presidential election season, based on raw, unanalyzed, and uncorroborated evidence, also reflected a noticeable departure from how it approached prior matters involving possible attempts by foreign election interference plans aimed at the Clinton campaign, Durham wrote. In one instance, according to the report, FBI headquarters and Justice Department officials required defensive briefings to be provided to Clinton and other officials or candidates who appeared to be the targets of foreign influence. In another, the FBI elected to end an investigation after one of its longtime and valuable confidential human sources went beyond what was authorized and made an improper and possibly illegal financial contribution to the Clinton campaign on behalf of a foreign entity as a precursor to a much larger donation to be contemplated. And the third example, in when an investigation of the Clinton Foundation, both senior FBI and DOJ officials placed restrictions on how those matters would be handled, such as to essentially no investigative activities occurring in the months leading up to the election. Durham pointed to markedly different handling of the Trump investigation and the Clintons' private email server. So I want to take a step back because this is a lot to bite off of. Ladies and gentlemen, what this is saying here is, of course, that there is a dual system of justice, that the FBI slow-walked and or stopped or halted all investigations into Hillary Clinton, even though there is a preponderance of evidence, demonstrable amounts of evidence, and that they went absolutely full bore into Donald Trump with zero evidence. Zero. It is hard to from an investigative basis and from a law enforcement basis, it's hard to actually define absolute zero. We're talking zero evidence. That means they can do it to you. That means they can do it to your children. That means they can do it to your grandmother. They can do it to anyone who stands in the way of their power. Makes it actually quite dangerous to do this show every single day, to be quite honest with you. It's like a marked risk. If you're Tucker Carlson, you ask all the right questions, you're off the air. Doesn't matter. That's how powerful these people are. So the markedly different handling is what led to John Durham to really look into where did the dossier and the Russian disinformation come from. Durham said within days of receipt of the unvetted and unverified Steele report, they're used to support probable cause during the FBI's FISA application targeting Trump campaign and Carter Page. The special counsel noted this was done at a time when the FBI knew that the information that Steele had provided to the FBI had been fed to the media and others, meaning it was a political document. This was not an intelligence document. This was a campaign document. Our investigation determined that the Crossfire Hurricane investigators did not and could not corroborate any of the substantive allegations contained in the Steele reporting. Not one. Durham wrote, nor was Steele able to produce corroborations of any evidence or allegations even after being offered $1 million by the FBI. The FBI is offering $1 million to Christopher Steele in order to come up with dirt on Trump, and he cannot give it to them. Trust me, this cretin would do it if he could. Russian intelligence knew of Steele's election investigation of the Clinton campaign by no later than July of 2016. Steele's sources may have been compromised by the Russians at a time prior to the creation of the Steele report, meaning that Hillary Clinton was the Russian agent. Hillary Clinton was the Russian agent. Jumping back up here, one of the confidential human sources used by the FBI was giving money to Hillary Clinton that was coming from a foreign nation. They do not name what nation it is. But again, the FBI continued to use a confidential human source that was donating to Hillary Clinton and contemplating a much larger donation on behalf of a foreign entity. Was that the Russians? Is Hillary Clinton actually the Russian agent here? Is Hillary Clinton actually the person who's accepting of Russian meddling and interference? Yes. Yes, she is. Russian intelligence was working with Christopher Steele. The report also goes on to cite dossier source Igor Dranchenko, provided Steele with rumor and speculation. Durham, this guy's a Russian. So Igor Dranchenko, a Russian, is the basis for the allegations inside of the Steele report. So Hillary Clinton was using Russian disinformation, lies about Donald Trump, in order to rig an election in 2016. Durham charged Russian analyst Dranchenko, but he was not found guilty. Isn't that interesting? No collusion. Durham's report assessed that neither U.S. law enforcement nor the intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. The FBI then discounted or willfully ignored material information that did not support the narrative of a collusion relationship between Trump and Russia. The FBI turned the other direction to actual evidence that stated that there was no collusion. They had zero evidence when they opened this investigation, which is damaging enough. And you remember the headlines. The headlines before the election in 2016. They opened this investigation to harm Hillary Clinton. Durham added that when ex-Obama Director of National Intelligence James Clapper spoke at the special counsel's office, he advised that he knew of no direct evidence that would meet any legal standard of conspiracy or collusion on Trump's part. Frauds. Special counsel also spoke to Admiral Mike Rogers, who served as the director of the National Security Agency, during which the relevant time period told him he did not recall any intelligence that supported any collusion or assertion. Durham also concluded that the former FBI director John Brennan similarly had no actual knowledge of such information. The special counsel pointed out that since fired FBI agent Peter Strzok in May of 2017, said he was hesitating to join the Mueller investigation, in part because, in my gut sense, concerned that there was no there. Durham wrote, although there was the there does not appear to have any explicit identification or evidence, it may well have been a reference to the Trump-Russia collusion investigation. You can look in the emails of Peter Strzok to Lisa Page. The two of them were married, cheating on their spouses with each other, about the insurance policies to keep Trump from being elected. You can see precisely what was going on here. You can see precisely their navigation of a world in which Hillary Clinton was the chief executive. The reason that this is all happening, and I have this from Democrats, I reached out to a Democrat who is a friend and who served in Congress as a Democrat, no longer. But the reason why these people were so scared was because of the Clintons. There's a lot of evil going on here, but I want to break this down because I think this is of primary importance. The Clintons are so malevolent and are so debased and debauched and are so threatening and are so vindictive and venal in their activities that people do literally run scared of them now and until they're 6 feet under, maybe after. They are such a crime syndicate. These people scare the living daylights out of Democrats, elected and unelected. They are vindictive. They ban people from being on corporate media, which they control. They write salacious and wicked headlines about them based on absolutely nothing. And they saw what they could do to Donald Trump. The reason why the FBI, Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe, and these guys ran to help and defend Hillary Clinton when she dropped this is because they were fearful of her. They were scared of the retaliation. They believed in their heart of hearts that she would become president. They believe in their heart of hearts that they would be punished, persecuted, and harmed if they did not do what Hillary Clinton told them to do. That is what drove them to investigate Donald Trump, because they had such surety that Hillary Clinton would become president, and they did not want the retaliation of not doing her bidding, even if that meant breaking every single rule in the book. So that is ultimately what was at play here. I don't feel for these people. I'm not excusing their actions. But all you need to do is ask a couple Democrats, like, if they have the stones to cross the Clintons, and what would happen if they did. And everybody has the cautionary tales of what happens when you cross the Clintons. So when Hillary Clinton pushes forward this garbage dossier on Trump, you best do everything in your power to make sure that that gets used to punish the people Hillary Clinton wanted you to have punished. That person was Donald Trump, of course. Donald Trump should have followed up. I would view possibly the greatest ill of Donald Trump's presidential administration was not following up on his promise to put Hillary Clinton in jail. It would have done a massive service to the country. According to the people inside of the Trump orbit, according to the individuals inside of Donald Trump's direct orbit, the reason why Trump didn't do that was because he actually wanted the country to heal. He actually wanted to have an administration that was not vindictive and did not persecute his political enemies. How naive. How naive. Trump had the power to look into the Bidens before they ran for president. He had the power to look into the Clintons. He promised that he would do it. It is a fatal and catastrophic failure that he did not. Because now we now inherit this world. And I'm saying this as a Trump fan. I'm saying this as a guy who backed the guy 100% all the way. But you gotta look at the missteps. Kushner, Ivanka, like having like the inability to actually go after this criminal enterprise, it gives us what we have inherited today. And Donald Trump had every right to do it. There were no open investigations. He had every right to fire these people and not welcome them and ingratiate them into his administration. And Republicans need to get wise to this. They need to learn this the hard way. And this is the hard way. Durham says no further crimes charged. Durham has obtained one guilty plea during his investigation of 4 years. FBI ex-lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith. Kleinsmith pleaded guilty to falsifying documents. That's it. Special counsel didn't charge anyone else in his new report. He could have charged them, but he didn't. Here's what Durham writes about this and why I'm upset. This is why I'm upset with this report, ultimately. The law does not always make a person's bad judgment, even horribly bad judgment, standing alone, a crime. Nor does the law criminalize all unseemly or unethical conduct that political campaigns might undertake for tactical advantage, absent the violation of a particular federal criminal statute, Durham wrote. If the report and the outcome of the special counsel's investigation leave some with the impression that injustices or misconduct have gone unaddressed, it is because the office concluded that there is no such injustice or misconduct occurred. It is rather because not every injustice or transgression amounts to a criminal offense, and criminal prosecutors are tasked exclusively with investigating and prosecuting the violations of U.S. law. It is why, ladies and gentlemen, we began our show with this Federalist article. Don't miss the most damning finding in the John Durham investigation. The most damning finding is that the soul of the FBI is rotted. The most damning finding, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is, without question, a blackness inside of the heart of these organizations. The underbelly is filthy. It is corrupt. They have no fidelity to the Constitution. They have no fidelity to the rule of law. They run scared of the Clintons and scared for their own political careers. They know that established power, like the Clintons and the Bidens, can destroy them, and so they serve them. Their fealty is to them. They're bootlickers, ass kissers, and you saw a lot of that yesterday at the White House when Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about the John Durham report. To predictable answer.
What is the White House reaction to Special Counsel Durham's report on how the FBI handled the Trump-Russia probe?
I would leave it to the Department of Justice to speak to.
Talks often about how he wants the DOJ and FBI to remain independent and above the fray. That report seems to reflect the opposite. Does he agree with Special Counsel Durham that there needs to be wholesale changes at the FBI?
Again, that is with the Department of Justice. That's not something that I'm going to speak from the podium. As you just stated in your question, we believe in an independent Department of Justice. That's what the president said when he was running, and that's what the president has said the last 2 years. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in Japan.
See you in Japan. See you on a whirlwind globalist tour, while the country burns. Now, this is a marked difference from what Karine Jean-Pierre said during the height of the Trump-Russia collusion fabrication narrative. Karine Jean-Pierre loved going on TV and talking about it. We have the evidence.
I want an answer. Do you think he's guilty?
I think he's crazy.
I think he's guilty?
Yes.
What's he guilty of?
I think he's guilty because he knows.
What did he do?
Well, he's the one who can answer that. I think.
No, what is he? You said he's guilty. What's he guilty of?
Well, I think he feels that there is something that's going to come out about Russia. Remember, there's money laundering. He knows what the Trump organization has been doing.
Go ahead.
There's money laundering, you see, in Russia. You see, said Karine Jean-Pierre inside of Bizarro World, as she defends day after day, saying there's no crimes from the Biden family. By the way, Donald Trump didn't have elected office. The first elected office Donald Trump ever held was president of the United States. Joe Biden's been elected since the time of Methuselah. Joe Biden has been elected. I mean, he was an old man during, like, America's founding, when he fought on behalf of the monarchists. It's clearly the way that he governs. So Joe Biden's been selling his office to the highest bidder. And they're saying that Donald Trump having business ties to Russia is somehow unethical? Money laundering, she says? Where exactly is the evidence of money laundering? Man, I hope I get stuck in an elevator someday with Karine Jean-Pierre. Man, I will flip my phone on and we will have such an exciting conversation. Jim Jordan's going to have an exciting conversation with John Durham about this report. Hopefully next week. I think it's confirmed, ALX. Is it confirmed that John Durham will be testifying now next week? Jim Jordan excited very much about it and is previewing it here.
Congressman, do you believe that John Durham will appear before your committee and testify?
I do, and I hope it is next week, but I do think he'll come. I think you sort of owe it to the country after doing this good work, this long report that he put together with its, just harsh and troublesome findings. I do think he'll come in front of Congress. I think he owes that to the country, and let's hope he does. We got a number of questions to ask him. And one of the things I want to ask about is we have FISA. Part of FISA is up for renewal. It's real important because that was the process that was abused in this that he points out in the report. So, yeah, I hope he comes because we got a lot of important questions for him.
So, yes, producer ALX says, everyone go follow ALX on Twitter. I think he's rounding the corner on 500,000. Thursday at 9 a.m. This Thursday, ALX? At 9 a.m.? Wild. So you're going to have the FBI whistleblowers, or is that next Thursday? May 25th. Okay, so next Thursday at 9 a.m., John Durham will be testifying before Congress. Wow. That is a must-watch. Get ready. This Thursday, meaning tomorrow, they're going to have FBI whistleblowers testifying. There will be multiple FBI whistleblowers. So very bad times to be members of the deep state. Black eyes all around. But there are people who have absolutely no shame. The Washington Post is one of those organizations. The Washington Post stands by its reporting that says Pulitzer Board concluded Trump-Russia stories were not discredited, as calls grow for awards to be swiped after Durham Report. Left-wing Trump-bashing newspaper has refused to return its 2018 Pulitzer Prize over the now-debunked theory that the president conspired with Russia. Washington Post and the New York Times picked up the most valued awards in American journalism for its deeply sourced, relentless, reported coverage that was all based on frauds. The DC-based outlet, which is bankrolled by Democrat donating Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos, insists that it will not give up its national reporting honor. The Post stands by its reporting, said the Washington Post spokesperson, further evidencing the fraud that is at the very core of all of our systems. And how strange it is to live inside of a world that is a bizarre world, a world where truth is not allowed. It is why we are deeply appreciative for Elon Musk. It is why we are deeply appreciative. We stream the show on Twitter every single day. I think that's going to become a bigger and bigger platform for us. It is a platform that is devoted to free speech. Elon Musk on Biden yesterday during a wild interview on CNBC where Elon Musk gave the greatest interview any billionaire has ever given, the most important interview any billionaire has ever given. He's single-handedly changing the tide of how Americans think about our liberties and think about our freedoms, saying that he wishes we just had a normal human being as president. Man, isn't that the truth? Watch.
The answer is nuanced. Do I believe Biden won? Yes, I believe he won.
And you voted for him.
I did, actually.
Do you regret that?
I mean, man, I wish we could have just a normal human being as president. That's what I want. I think if we could, there's that old saying of like, we're better off being run by people picked at random from the phone book than the faculty of Harvard.
Yeah.
I don't know who said that, but it's someone very wise. And I would say if we could do that for the president, that would be great.
You think that would be beneficial? So you're not, obviously you're not happy with Biden.
Don't we all just want a normal human being to be
Whatever
the president?
that means.
So we just want a normal human being to be president. Elon Musk talking about the Hunter Biden laptop interference, saying effectively that he regrets voting for Joe Biden and that the company that he now owns, that he bought for $44 billion, did rig an election by stopping the largest bombshell story in the history of American politics, the exposure of the Biden family as a criminal syndicate, from hitting American newswires and, more importantly, suppressing anyone who shared it, so banning you from the platform, which is absolute Soviet in nature. They would gulag you if you stood against the regime and told the truth. I mean, what we've lived through, what we've lived through, every person who's lived through the last 10 years deserves some type of medal for living through the worst and most unnerving time in American political history and in American civil rights, modern civil rights history, ladies and gentlemen. What the regime is capable of as it pertains to your core values and your core freedoms, so it really does boggle my mind. Sitting back and saying, wait a second, you're not allowed to share truth and you will be punished based on a apparatchik that is run by the FBI. So Twitter was just a wholesale FBI op. And you will be kicked off, you'll be punished, you'll be depersoned for sharing truth about the regime. Wild. Elon Musk saying this.
Some of these conspiracy theories have turned out to be true.
Which ones?
Well, like the Hunter Biden laptop.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that was a pretty big deal. There was Twitter and others engaged in active suppression of information that was relevant to the public. That's a terrible thing that happened. That's election interference.
So it's interference. Well, yeah. And I love how the liberal reporter there is like, I mean, I wish that you just press these people to be like, is it real? Okay, so is it real? So then where are the prosecutions? I can show you the footage of Hunter Biden smoking crack. We do it as often as we can on this show. So he lied on his federal NICS form. So where's the prosecutions? The ATF says that's 15 years in prison. So where is it? We live inside of a dangerous time where we are experiencing some major oppressions to our freedoms and, of course, a dual system of justice, which is at the very heart of it, the breaking of the fabric of this country. Elon Musk is standing at the very least for the people being able to say what they want and to call out these evils. Because if you don't have the ability to say it, well, then you'll never have the ability to expose it. That is at its core tenet. You cannot have our system without free speech. It is a prerequisite. First Amendment is first for a reason. Elon Musk gets that. Watch.
Or there are advertisers on Twitter that Linda Yaccarino will come and say, you got to stop, man. Or, I can't get these ads because of some of the things you tweet.
I'm reminded of there's a scene in The Princess Bride. Great movie.
Great movie.
Where he confronts the person who killed his father. And he says, offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care. You want to share what you have to say.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it. Possibly the most important quote from a billionaire in the history of our country. So valuable. So important. So brave. I mean, true, actual bravery is when you have skin in the game and something to lose. Elon Musk is criticizing people that you're not allowed to criticize. George Soros is one of those. Apparently, you're anti-Semitic if you even criticize the guy. This, by the way, George Soros, the same man who funds various leftist organizations that attack Israel, that call for the dissolution of Israel, that call it an apartheid state, that want essentially Israel dissolved entirely. So if you attack that man, you're anti-Semitic. George Soros is a man who is calling for the destruction and the absolute dissolution of everything that binds us as a society. His Open Society Foundation is exactly that. Reduce the borders, open up our society, demoralize our population, dilute our currency into worthlessness, and then complete and total monarchical control, tyrannical, oligarchical control. And it's people like him and his family cozied up to by Democrat elites that would be standing there to take the reins. As soon as you rid us of these pesky rights and of American nationality and of every nationality, therefore this in Europe, by the way, therefore the opening of every European border, they're the ones pushing to have every Syrian migrant and African migrant that can illegally cross a border into Europe flood the European systems. European systems, of course, based on a welfare system, much like America, but America has a stronger economy, would collapse overnight. And that's what they want. They want the collapse. It is true evil. And Elon Musk calls it out. He's being criticized for it. Well, no, hold on. No. The answer is no. You are allowed to criticize people who are destroying the world, regardless of their heritage. That's how this works. That's how free speech works. Elon Musk gets it. Watch.
And you tweeted this thing about George Soros. Well, I'm looking for it because I want to make sure I quote it properly. But, I mean, you know what you wrote. But you basically...
I said it reminds me of Magneto. It's just like, calm down, people. This is not like made a federal case out of it.
You also... you said he wants to erode the very fabric of civilization, and Soros hates humanity. Like, when you do something like that, do you
I think that's true. That's my opinion.
Okay, but why share it? Why share it? Especially, why share it when people who buy Teslas may not agree with you, advertisers on Twitter may not agree with you? Why not just say, hey, I think this. You can tell me. We can talk about it over there. You can tell your friends. But why share it widely?
I mean, this is freedom of speech. I'm allowed to say what I want.
You absolutely.
Yeah, well, because freedom of speech, ladies and gentlemen. He's allowed to say and criticize anyone And oh, by the way, the person who seems actually anti-Semitic is the person who's pushing for the dissolution of Israel as a nation and pushing policies that punish or hurt, defang, or destroy that nation in and of itself. Is that not anti-Semitic? Man, I just absolutely hate those arguments. We really are led by the dumbest people. And some of those people do indeed sit inside of the Senate. John Fetterman yesterday was leading a Senate committee. John Fetterman has huge mental problems and major debilitating problems that he belongs inside of a home. He belongs inside of a house to rehabilitate. After multiple aneurysms and strokes and heart attacks, John Fetterman belongs in a nursing care home, and that is effectively what our Senate has turned into. Nobody knew what he was saying yesterday. He just started speaking gibberish. As ever. Watch.
It's astonishing. That's like if you have, and they also realize is that now they have, it's in a guaranteed way to be saved by no matter how, So it's isn't it appropriate that this kind of control should be more stricter to prevent this kind of thing from going? Or should we just go on and start bailing and sailing whoever bank, regardless of how their conduct is? I'll give you an example. The Republicans want to give a work requirement for SNAP. For a hungry family has to have this kind of penalties or some kinds of working required. Shouldn't you have a working requirement after we sell your bank with billions of your bank? Because they seem to be more preoccupied than SNAP and requirements for works for hungry people, but not about protecting the taxpayers, that will bail no matter whatever does about a bank to crash it.
Abuse. They're a party of elder abuse with Joe Biden. They're a party of mental abuse with people like John Fetterman. Debilitating abuse of people who have clear handicaps. It's a party of abject and total abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, I am ultimately and totally and completely in a state of shock, I suppose, at how this system is being run. The people who run this system clearly don't care about democracy. They'll rig things against Donald Trump. They'll open up investigations in order to steal your vote and your voice away from you. They are capable of that, and they are wanting to do that, and they continue to do that. They will do it to protect institutional power, which is the only thing that actually drives them, and they will do it in order to spite you. And then they will ensure that people like John Fetterman and Joe Biden, who can't even speak English, are the ones who hold high office, maybe just to insult you, to further insult you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's enough to really black pill you, but more importantly, it's enough to motivate us to actually change and to actually do something. We do still clearly run this country. We are clearly the majority, and this system can be broken. The system can be saved. The system can be saved if we have people who are willing to fight for it and who are willing to actually stand in the gap and do something. Those are rare, especially in the modern political era. Bravery, of course, is always rare in any era, but the beasts and the monsters that need to be slain now, they seem and loom larger than ever. The people who actually fight them deserve to be commended. It has certainly been a Herculean lift to get Senator Ron Johnson on the show. But ladies and gentlemen, after much waiting, we are happy to announce that Ron Johnson is finally, I suppose, joining the show. Is this correct, guys? Okay, all right. Senator Ron Johnson is one of the men who do fight the beasts and the monsters who loom large over Washington, D.C., and he joins us now. Senator, I appreciate you making it on the program.
Well, Benny, hope you're doing well.
Thank you. So let's begin here. We have the Durham Report, and we have the findings that say effectively that a criminal cartel effectively wished to steal a presidential election from the voters in 2016, and then went about, when they couldn't do that, they went about continuing to steal the voice of the American people by sabotaging Donald Trump's first term. What consequences will come of this inside of our federal government? John Durham didn't suggest any further prosecutions.
So if you don't have the Department of Justice willing to indict and prosecute, other than exposing, there's unfortunately not a whole lot that can be done. We certainly don't have that power in Congress. And even worse is the mainstream media, by and large, is ignoring this, as they ignored Senator Grassley in my report. Now, what's interesting, Belling, they didn't ignore our investigation. Throughout 2020, as we were digging up the information on the Biden Inc. and the corrupt dealings of Hunter and Sarah and James Biden, we were being accused consistently in the media of soliciting and disseminating Russian disinformation. The media accused us of that. Our Democrat colleagues accused us of that. Once we issued our report, it was obvious there was no Russian disinformation in our report. It was based on U.S. records, interviews with U.S. persons. The media just ignored it. They said, oh, there's nothing new here. And they're doing something similar to James Comer right now. They're doing the same thing with the Durham Report. That is how the complicit, compliant, and corrupt legacy media reveals their bias, but also endangers our democracy. You know, we need a free press, but we need a free press that is unbiased and holds both sides equally accountable. And we don't have that right now. We've got advocates for the left in the mainstream media, and it's a real challenge.
Yeah, but who cares about the mainstream media? We're the media now. Like, our streaming show gets more viewers than CNN. So who cares? And we tell the truth. So, I mean, I think it's imperative for people in Washington to actually change their mindset as to what the media is. I think that too often
I don't disagree. I think Substacks, I think podcasts are growing in popularity. I don't know at what time, at what point a majority of Americans will get their news primarily from this and listen to it and believe it and be influenced by it. I don't think we've achieved that day yet.
I mean, perhaps, but the largest, most listened to people on planet Earth are like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson.
Right.
They have shows that like pale in comparison. You can add up all of CNN's ratings and MSNBC's ratings. You don't get Joe Rogan's podcast, right? And so it's like.
But Benny, we still elected Biden in 2020. In Wisconsin, for example, we just elected a radical left-winger on our Supreme Court. Yeah. So you have to look at, again, to me, it's amazing that these individuals, these radical leftists get elected, but they do. And the reason they get elected is because the media is not honest. They cover for them. They're a bunch of radical leftists themselves. And so again, we just alternate media, like your site and like others, just isn't winning the day yet. I hope it will.
I mean, so like control the media and working and building different media ecosystems, we're doing that. What about in Washington, D.C. when it comes to actually holding accountable these people who clearly attempted to rig an election against Donald Trump in 2016? What accountability will actually come of this? I know Durham's going to testify next week. Will it just be bluster? Will it just be Republicans banging their shoes and throwing shoes? Will there be consequential actions? And I suppose the best that we can suggest right now that I've seen is the taking of funding from the organizations because that is their life source.
Yeah. Well, again, that takes both chambers to agree on spending. And so that's difficult. I mean, what the House can do is they can impeach members of the administration, and they should. They should impeach people like Anthony Blinken, who lied in an interview to my staff, saying that he never emailed Hunter Biden. They can impeach Mayorkas for not faithfully executing the laws. So they can do that. But again, you're not going to convict these individuals in a Senate run by Chuck Schumer. So there are limits to what Congress can do. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because there's always, what goes around comes around. It's very frustrating. There's no doubt about it. We generally don't have aggressive attorney generals when we have a Republican president. We don't do as outrageous things as the Democrats do. Yes. And quite honestly, I didn't have the support for my investigation during 2020. I couldn't issue subpoenas because I didn't have the votes from enough Republicans on my committee to get the subpoenas. because it was just too political looking into Hunter Biden. But, thank God for Chuck Grassley. And we laid all this out. I mean, we had the bank records. We've laid out millions of dollars of transactions, gifts of diamonds, laid out all the LLCs, the vast web of foreign financial entanglements, but the media just ignored it.
Yeah, my wife saw the diamond that Hunter Biden got, and it really caused problems in my marriage. She was like, "Okay, excuse me, Hunter Biden can get this diamond. You need to do more Chinese business." So you said, I thought that was very interesting. You said that Republicans lacked the spine to support you, and now Donald Trump's getting raided at Mar-a-Lago, is being hauled in and arrested for absolutely nothing in New York. They're next. Is this like the crocodile situation where it's like they're going to eat me last, so it's going to be special for me? Did they not realize that this is going to happen to all of us?
Right. No, I realize that. Part of the problem in Washington, D.C. is on, the uniparty. Yes. And there are far too many members of Congress whose primary goal is to get reelected. And once again, they certainly as a Republican, you realize that the legacy media is opposed to you. And there are too many of my colleagues that are concerned about what the legacy media says about them. And they've also seen how the legacy media has treated me. Called me a conspiracy theorist. I was just invited on the BBC last night, and unbeknownst to me, they put Sidney Blumenthal in a joint interview. So I've got Sidney Blumenthal, a co-conspirator, a guy who was pushing the false Russian narrative like he's a person of integrity. He's accusing me of being another Joe McCarthy. It's outrageous. But let's face it, the BBC is still the trusted news source in the UK. So again, that is what we're up against. So there's no denying it. There's no denying that their influence is waning, but we're still not at the point where podcasts like this have enough influence to really carry the day with the truth. And that's what we are conveying the truth. It has its own power, but the radical leftists have they've got an awful lot of power.
Yeah, I think that so much of this is based on institutional power and also law enforcement power inside of Washington, D.C., because it's hard to really go against these narratives when juries find Donald Trump, right, innocent of rape, but then he has to pay $5 million. It seems like there is and when you can get headlines like the Republicans have nothing on the Bidens. They exonerated Joe Biden of any wrongdoing. That's what the New York Times wrote. And it's hard without an actual conviction. I guess that's what I'm tearing into right now. Is why are Republicans such cowards? Why? Where did our balls fall off? We have no iron in the spine, no gunpowder in the gut. Donald Trump said you'd be in jail to Hillary Clinton on the debate stage.
Too many Republicans fear the mainstream media.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're worried about re-election, it's worthy of fear. But let's talk about convictions. John Durham, I thought, had great cases against Michael Sussman and Igor Danchenko. But he couldn't get a conviction here in Washington, D.C., where the jury pool is, 90% Democrat? Yeah. You can convict Republicans, D.C. You can't convict Democrats. Plus, he also had a real issue. I think the jury took a look at both those individuals and realized that the corrupt actors in their crimes literally were the FBI. And so it was very difficult. And so, Durham getting stung twice, indicting people that he probably thought he had an open shut case against, couldn't get the conviction because one of the things he was fighting is the fact that the FBI's corruption made it very difficult for him to get conviction against Michael Sussman and Igor Danchenko because the FBI wasn't dealing with them honestly. So again, it's a complex situation. None of us can give up. I'm not giving up. I'm reasonably tenacious. I'm going to keep doing everything I can to uncover and expose the truth.
You have been one of the few people that fought even against Republicans. You're fighting against Republicans too. You are fighting the uniparty, and you're exposing an enormous amount. And I think that Americans have had a belly full of the uniparty sitting back and being flaccid and fat and not doing anything. And they've seen all the evidence against the Bidens. Would you be in favor of a regional style prosecution against the Bidens from a Republican DA?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I think right now with Biden in the White House, our best source of pushing back, well, first of all, recapturing the House was key. We've kind of stopped his agenda in its tracks. But Republican attorneys general, they need to sue for his lawlessness in terms of how his executive orders that are contrary to the Constitution or contrary to law. I think Republican DAs in the proper jurisdiction, if they can justify, again, not like a Anthony, is it Bragg? Is it Anthony Bragg? Whatever, District Attorney Bragg in New York. We don't want to be violating basic legal principles, but the people who have violated basic legal principles are the Bidens, and they should be held accountable.
Yeah. Final question for you. When it comes to reforms at the FBI, when it comes to reforms inside of like our systems of government, people are losing faith quickly. And we won't have a country if we have nothing that we stand in favor of together and systems of justice that we can actually agree upon, much less the morality of this country that we can agree upon. So, like, how do you fix that? I mean, are you in favor of reducing funding to the FBI? Are you in favor of abolishing some of these departments that seem like so shot through with corruption? Because at the very end of Durham's report, he says rules won't fix this. It's the people who fix this. The corruption of the soul is what's at root here.
Yeah, there are corrupt actors. They need to be exposed. And had we run the majority, I'd have been chairman of the Permanent Subcommittee Investigations. And I was, prior to the election, talking about in that role, I would love to have done bicameral hearings, a church-type commission with Congressman Jordan, for example, and lay all this out in all its gory detail for the American public as the first step to then reform these agencies. But it's about people. And it is very effective in terms of accountability when they are exposed. They get fired. They're no longer there. James Comey's no longer in the FBI. Andrew McCabe, Lisa Strzok, or Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, they aren't there. So these corrupt actors are gone. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that they don't get jobs on MSNBC where they can continue to spout their lies. They're still doing it. That's why further exposure, further shaming is required.
Yeah, well, we hope that further shaming comes with some type of prosecution or some type of reference to some type of action that would actually prevent this from happening. That there's some heads on pikes around the FBI and the DOJ to say, warning, you should not do this. Because Douglas Mackey is put in jail for trying to influence the election with a meme. He's prosecuted. He's going to spend the next 10 years in jail. And these people actually use the FBI to try and influence an election, and they get a contract on CNN.
No, it's outrageous. It's why I'm so tenacious. The unequal application of justice, the bias in the media, how things are covered, it is destroying this country. It's destroying this country. Washington Post has, democracy dies in darkness. No, democracy dies with a highly biased leftist press.
Yeah. Well, we're doing our best to fix that. Thank you so much, Senator, for being on the program.
Take care.
And gentlemen, we do our best to bring you the interviews, the people live, raw, like from their offices that you can find, and you can really see the truth. You can see the people who are fighting. We're sorry that took a second. We typically have an hour-long show. We were waiting and sort of working with the senator's team to get him on the program for the first time. We're happy that we waited. He's a fighter. We do want results, and we want action. Action, action, action. This is an action-driven show. So we will remain, ladies and gentlemen, action-oriented. Sometimes the best that we can give you is a little bit of uplift that may come in the form of a funny story, that may come in the form of a joke, that may come in the form of an interview, and it always comes in the form of a verse of the day. The verse of the day from James 1:5. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. I can tell you this, that's my prayer every single day. I ask for wisdom. We have an audience, we have a platform. The senator says that we need to work harder on media. I would argue that it's never been worse for the corporate press right now. They're being sold lock, stock, and barrel. They're doing mass layoffs. And the only people actually scared of the corporate media are people like Mitch McConnell. People like the ones who run the Senate inside of the Republican caucus. And he called them out on it. And I guess that's to be commended. Ladies and gentlemen, ask for wisdom. I ask for wisdom when we do this show every single day. And we bring it to you as best that we can, as best as God gives to us. Thank you for watching. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show.